Hello, welcome. Welcome to the last session of Module 3. Title of this session is Problem Solving Engineering Perspective. Problem Solving Engineering Perspective. So, we'll be discussing problem solving from engineering perspective. From the engineering perspective, problem solvers can be divided into four types. Problem solvers can be divided into four types. Four. Okay. Craftsmen, technicians, technologists, engineers. Craftsmen, technicians, technologists, engineers. So these are the different perspectives. These are the different perspectives. These are the people who work together actually. These are the people who work together. Engineers, technologists, technicians, craftsmen all work together. All usually work together. What exactly is the relation? What exactly is the relation? Craftsmen are skilled in a particular craft. They are skilled in a particular craft. They do it with perfection, but they cannot do other crafts. They do it with perfection, but they cannot do other crafts. So they are very, very good at particular craft. So, for example, weavers. For example, weavers. Suppose you go to a weaver who designs these silk sarees, and he's capable of doing it in excellent fashion. But if you ask him to do something else, he cannot do. So that's the problem with the weavers. That's the problem with the weavers because they are only the craftsmen. They are good at a particular skill. Unfortunately, they cannot do other things. That's why you can see the people committing suicides because they are good at it. Unfortunately, they didn't get the proper recognition. Unfortunately, they didn't get the proper recognition, and because they can do only that thing, so if they want food, then there should be demand. Otherwise, they cannot do other things. Of course, they can survive, they can do some labor work, etc. But definitely, a craftsman is expected to do the craft work only. So, few days back, I went to a tailor. I was asking him about the actually any ladies tailors available because these days ladies tailors are charging very huge amount for designing the apparels of the ladies. But what he was saying is so he is very good at stitching this menswear. Okay, now he is repenting because he didn't learn the skill to stitch the ladies related garments. So because you don't know the skill, he will not do it. He will not do it. Coming to a technician is more general and is adept at using certain techniques related to a specific field or task to be performed. He is adept at using certain techniques. He is adept at using certain techniques. Adept at using certain techniques related to a specific field or task to be performed. He knows few skills related to his work. Knows few skills related to his work. Excuse me. I have severe cold, so I may not be in a position to speak properly. Please bear with me. So he is good at certain techniques. He is good at a certain techniques, not just a single technique, but at certain techniques. Suppose you go to an electronic technician. You go to an electronic technician who is repairing the TVs. Okay, if we take the TV, we will repair it. But also, if you take these tabs, if we take tabs on some other electronic goods, we will be able to repair them also. He will be able to repair them also. He'll be able to repair them also. So he knows the general knowledge related to the field, different components that make it different electronic components. So he has some knowledge about different electronic components. So if the same electronic components are used in some other device, we will be in a position to repair them also. So that is techniques or technician. Next, a technologist. A technologist is an expert in a particular field of technology. In a particular field of technology. A particular field of technology. Very good at in a particular field of technology. He knows what can be done to improve the performance of a device or process. He can compare various techniques also. He can compare various techniques also. And he can choose the best one also. He can choose the best one also. And he can also supervise the technicians. He can also supervise the technicians. So he can improve the performance. He can compare the various techniques. Various techniques. Various techniques. So technologist knows different techniques, is a thorough knowledge of those techniques, and he can compare them, choose the best one also. Choose the best one also. So if we take our degrees, suppose if we take ITI people basically are technicians. You can say they are technicians, and who don't study this even this ITI, and who learn something by practice, like carpenters, say weavers, etc. They come under craftsman. So technician is one who does ITI, and polytechnic people, they can be called as technologists. And let's go to our own field, that is engineering. Our own field called as engineering. So an engineer is supposed to solve new problems. An engineer is supposed to solve new problems, make innovations, and find new products or processes. And find new products or processes. Can make innovations, find new products. New products or processes. New products or processes. He is expected to solve the problems. We expect him to solve the problems. Any new problems also. Any new problems also. In reality, we require few engineers. Though the country is manufacturing huge number of engineers, but the jobs are not for engineers. The jobs are basically for technologists, technicians, etc. That's why you often hear that they say even in the software field, other people are also selected. Other branch people are also selected. Even BSc or polytechnic people are also accommodated, because their jobs are plenty. Their jobs are plenty. Technician jobs are plenty. You require huge number of technicians actually. Technologists, you require some number, and engineers, you actually require few only. Few only. Okay. So what we are doing and why you are getting this BTech degree? Because you are in between this technologist and engineer. You are in between this technologist and engineer. You are in fact more close to the engineer. You are more close to the engineer. So if you take this one, you want to draw the line like this and put this craftsmen, technicians, technologists, and engineers. So here will be the craftsman. Here will be the craftsman, and then technicians, and then technologists, and then engineer. Engineer. Actually, you are in between this. In the present case, you are in between this, but more close to the engineer. More close to the engineer. So this is craftsman, 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 technicians, technicians, and technologists, technologists say DL, and here is engineers. Engineers. So they can be diagrammatically represented like this. What engineers solve are called as problems, not exercise. What engineers solve are called as problems, not exercises. Exercises can be problems which you find at the end of each chapter. So, list of exercises will be given at the end of each chapter of a textbook, typical textbook, and then you can solve them. You practice them, similar problems you practice, and you will be able to solve the other problems also. Sometimes you can solve them mechanically. That means you're not putting much of your brain also, because you get adapted, get adapt, ADEPT, adapt at it, adapt at it. But the problems are different. As engineer, you may encounter new problems which are not similar to the exercise which you have solved. It is maybe totally a new problem. So that's why engineers require this creativity. Engineers require creativity. Engineers require creativity. Problem solving skill is the number one skill required for human beings, not just for engineers, for all human beings. It's the problem solving skill that is required. It's the problem solving skill that is required. So though there is a lot of hype regarding the communication skills, the problem solving skill is required to survive. And it is known to even our ancient people, though we are failing to recognize it as a separate skill, but it was possessed by the ancient people, and we also have it, problem solving skill. The beauty of it is it can be acquired by anybody. The beauty of it is it can be acquired by anybody. It can be acquired by anybody. And it can be improved by practice. So it can be acquired by anybody. It can be improved by practice. But of course, domain knowledge is required. Domain knowledge is required for solving any problem. So probably mechanical engineers, civil engineers should not get discouraged, or you should not think that okay, you are going to the civil engineering, you are going to the software field, so you need to have only software knowledge. Your knowledge will not be useful. But you can say we are in what is called as transition period. We are in what is called as transition period, where this domain knowledge is not required much. Domain knowledge is not required much, because we have reached a stage in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, to the maximum possible extent. We have reached a certain stage. So this software engineering is evolving field. So as I already told you, most of the jobs are not for engineers, actually technologists or technicians, etc. So if you know few skills, say if you know C programming skill, then you can be selected, because you will be working on a particular skill. You will not be solving the major complex problems. So there are no jobs for it. So we are in an era of what is called as Industry 4.0, which is all about cyber physical systems. What the civil engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, etc. should learn is, in fact, what should be incorporated into our curriculum is, how to control those devices, mechanical, electrical devices, using computers, cyber physical systems. That means we will be controlling the physical systems over the internet. So we should learn that technique. So already in a place like Germany, smart factories are available. Probably you need not go to the factory. A mechanical engineer, if it is manufacturing bolts, etc., mechanical products, so he can sit at his home and control everything. There you require domain knowledge. Now, because we are in the transition period, probably you are not given much respect. Domain knowledge is in fact not given much respect. Okay. But again, days will come where domain knowledge will become significant. So anybody can use the computer. Confidence is required. How do you learn problem solving? Means confidence is required. Suppose while you are trying to walk, Your mother tries to help you. Initially, she holds your hands. She takes you along with her, but after some time, she tries to leave you, and you try to. She tries to put her hands close to your hands, so giving you the confidence that you can walk. You can walk. So that is required for any skill. That is required for any skill. For any skill, including problem solving and communication skill, you need to have successful experiences. How you don't get successful experiences by initially trying to solve complex problems. So consider only easy problems. Consider only easy problems at the beginning. Don't try to solve complex problems. Consider only easy problems. After some time, you get confidence and you will be able to solve different problems. So you should also practice problems after that, which require long duration. Require long duration. So you should not get discouraged. Start with easy problems, then go to complex problems or problems which take much of the time. Next, problems may be well defined or ill defined. Problems may be well defined or ill defined. The problem itself is well defined or ill defined. So ill-defined problems are difficult to solve because we fail at understanding the problem. We discussed in the previous sessions that understanding the problem is the single most important thing actually. Apart from solving it, so understanding the problem is more important. Understanding the problem is more important. So ill-defined problems are difficult to understand because the problem itself is not clearly defined. The problem itself is not clearly defined. So we may think that most of the problems are well defined, but in reality, opposite is the case. Most of the problems are ill defined. They are not well defined. They are ill defined. They are ill defined. Maybe mathematical problems are well defined, but most of the real life problems are ill defined only. Customer may not know his own requirements. Customer doesn't know his own requirements. Customer may not know at that point of time his total requirements. So that's why you cannot gather all the requirements. You have to build the prototype, show it to the customer, gather more and more requirements, take the feedback from the customer. So and it is a continuous process. It's not going to stop. New requirements will come, enhancements are required, modifications are required. So any product is going to change over a time. And because software is flexible one, so you can easily make changes relatively, or at least appears that you can easily make the changes. Getting the requirements of the problem is a big task and that should be done properly. Some of the requirements for engineers who are basically problem solvers are critical thinking, creative thinking, mental toughness, learning ability. Creative thinking, critical thinking, mental toughness, learning ability. Critical thinking is manual thinking. Critical thinking is manual thinking. So that means you go deep into the problem. You don't try to understand it just as a routine problem. You go deep into the problem. So you will put all your efforts. That's why it is called as manual thinking. Manual thinking. So otherwise, we use what is called as automatic thinking. So we have to use manual thinking. For innovative problems, you have to use manual thinking. You have to concentrate on the problem. You have to try to understand the problem from different perspectives, formulate the problem, and then solve it. Creative thinking enables us to solve even if the existing methods for solving fail. Even if the existing methods fail, creative thinking enables you to solve it. But not all the persons need to be creative, and not the persons have to be creative all the time. So not all the persons need to be creative. Not the persons have to be creative all the time. Because for many of the problems in our daily life or as an engineer also, most of the problems are routine. So creative thinking is required only for few things. for few things. The next one, mental toughness. So solutions to complex problems are not obvious. Sometimes it takes a lot of time to solve them, months, years. Okay, certain problems you have to experiment over the years. You never know when do you get the breakthrough. So for doing all these things, you should be mentally tough to persist with the problem and try all possible solutions. Persist with it. So we build on what already exists. What already exists keeps on changing. One has to be a continuous learner to survive. That's why you require learning ability. An engineer requires learning ability because things are going to change. Things are going to change. So one has to acquire new knowledge and then try to solve new problems. So that is regarding the engineering perspective. Engineering perspective about problem solving. Engineering perspective about problem solving. Shubhamastu. Thank you.